Listen, here's how I'd answer that question. The company offers lots of opportunities to move through the organization.
Oh boy.
And 42% of all of our DETs are from the technical side. So there is career growth, career passion, career capability. And for those of you, for those technicians who want to stay in the technical ranks, we have opportunities to go from a tech lead to a tech supervisor to a tech specialist. You have the ability to move up through the technical ranks. We continue to evaluate that pay from a market perspective. And so, listen, I want every technical employee to make more money, team member to make more money over time. That is the goal with Encore U and facilitating training and the ability to develop your skill sets. I mean, that is absolutely the intent and the goal to do it. So.
Yeah, so thank you for that response. So it's great that there are opportunities to move up. I know that a lot of people in this room have started at the bottom and made their way up and switch to sales. The point that I'm making is that if you're trying to make a living, you're trying to live, you have to pay rent, you have to pay for food. People who have kids, I can't even imagine trying to pay for that. It's great that you can set goals to move up and make more money later, but the techs still matter. And it's not enough to say, well, if you work really hard at this for a couple of years, then you can move up and then you'll get a few more dollars and you might be able to actually start saving, putting away money to try and buy a car, if you're taking the trolley to work, things like that. So it's great that you can move up in the company, but my point is that the techs matter. If someone starts full-time and they're making $15 an hour, which by the way, the California minimum wage goes up to 15 in January, so officially you guys will be paying minimum wage to your technicians when we have to work with things like live power, really heavy equipment, rigging, things like that you need to be very highly trained to do, making less than what you could make at In-N-Out flipping burgers. There are positions at In-N-Out that start at 17 an hour. And that's no shade to them, there's no disrespect to them, they deserve a living wage too, but I think that working with electricity and rigging, thousands of pounds in the air requires a little bit more skill and responsibility than working at a restaurant. So it's nice that there's the opportunity to move up, but in the meantime, it's hard to do that when you're barely scraping by and you're living paycheck to paycheck. So again, my question is, do you think that you could live comfortably on $30,000 a year?
Yeah, listen, I think it's very, very challenging.
I'm sorry, that one's a yes or no question.
I think it depends where you live.
Okay. Let's say you live in one of the cheaper parts of town. Do you think that you could live a comfortable life on $30,000 a year in San Diego?
Listen, it's I can't answer that question from the standpoint of it just depends where you live, it depends how you spend your money. There's lots of things that go into that. But listen, here's the way I would just answer that question. We want people to make as much money as they can and to have a career path and to grow their careers. And the best way to do that is to move from a technician to a tech lead to a tech supervisor to a tech specialist. If you want to stay in the technical ranks, and then ultimately if you want to do something different, whether it's become a project manager or work on a show team, or maybe get into some type of leadership or management role, we're trying to create an environment where everyone in the organization can move through various roles to increase their financial reports.
Yeah, so again, what I'm talking about is the text at the bottom.
And listen, I think I'm addressing that. I think it's hard for me to go to a personal situation with everybody, because that's not really the intent of the meeting today. The intent of the meeting is to really talk about where we're going. And while personal situations are really, really important, it's hard for me to address, can someone live on this salary in this market? It's difficult because it depends where you live and how you live your life. It's challenging. Not trying to be evasive, it's just hard for me to answer a question like that.
Okay, yeah, I understand that you guys aren't really like allowed to answer most of these outright, but thank you for your responses. I know that you said that this isn't the point of the meeting, but that doesn't really matter to me. Again, like I'm here representing my fellow workers who I care about more than anything, and I care about more than the gear in this room, the more I care about the hotel or the management. I care about the people who I'm working alongside with who are unhappy and unable to feed their families and unable to have a good work-life balance because in order to make enough money to make their rent, they have to work like 10, 15 days in a row so that they can get overtime. Yeah, just where you're talking about moving forward, what we need to move forward to, what our first priority needs to be is getting the contract signed and offering us something that isn't breadcrumbs and not saying, we'll give you 3 cents more starting, but we're going to take away all your floating holidays, things like that. So I know that you can't answer, and you already said that all, so this isn't a real question, this is a statement. If you're looking forward, you need to focus on your technicians. The reason no one stays is because it's not worth it to stay. Most of us, like personally, I don't even want to move up because I know that each step up that I go, there's still people behind me who are not being cared for and who are not being valued. And that's why half of the workforce didn't return here. Because there's no point. Everyone's going to end up going to the union anyway. So basically, if you can keep us here, then you can start paying us what we're worth, since I know you can afford it, because we get a ton of union workers in here every day. Or there's no other way forward. I know that you can't really respond to that, but thanks for your responses.
Well, listen, we appreciate it. I love the fact that you're here, you're speaking your opinion. I think it's great, and we encourage it. And I embrace the discussion and the commentary. So, I appreciate your confidence. Really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Here, here.
I just wanted to let you know that from what I've seen, the majority of the burnout, the frustration, the anger is actually coming from the people who have moved up. Your supervisors, your specialists, your riggers, the people who have been around, who have been loyal, they are the most vocal from what I've seen. And you may not be aware of it, but a lot of people are looking for the door. A lot of people are looking for the door. And I would not be surprised if after the December downturn, half of us didn't show up in January. And that scares me a little bit because then that puts more burden on my shoulders because we're going to be stretched even more thin. And so I'm not trying to berate anybody. I just want to express my concern that I hope things get solved in the negotiations. I'm not trying to make any points, but whatever you guys can do to figure it out, please do.
No, listen, I appreciate that. We want to do that. Thank you for your comments. And listen, I would agree. Listen, our entire workforce is stretched and it's stressed, and I would acknowledge, all the comments made, and we're, Craig and his team and the HR and the ops team, we're actively working to bring more people into the organization. And it's really important that we continue to staff up and build the organization back. I mean, we're fortunate across the country that 86% of all team members, technical or otherwise, that we've asked to come back have come back. And that's less than our annualized turnover rate pre-COVID. So I do think we have very loyal team members, and we have to make sure that as the company builds itself back and rises up from the ground, that we staff and we give the resources necessary to our team members. It's really, really important. So, the comment is well said.
The more workers who are represented by unions, the better for everyone. Because what we know that it does is that it lifts up all workers. So every time a worker joins a union, it means that more workers have power. And with that power, we start to redistribute some of the money that has been allocated or taken by management and the owners of different companies and puts it back into the community. It means that more workers are going to rise from lower income families into middle income families, and everyone wins when that happens. The advice I'd give to workers who are in their first fight is to stay together. There is power in unity, there is power in solidarity, and the more workers who are standing together, the more likely you are to have the power you need to defeat management and get the contract you deserve. My message to PSAB Encore management is to hear the workers and to do right by them, because by doing right by them, you're going to do right by the community, you're going to do right by the city. This is not the time to shortchange workers. Families are hurting. We need to make sure that we give them what they need to rise up into the middle class and live the lives that they and their families deserve.